Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Prof. Nenden. Good morning, my friend. Good morning, all. Today we are going to discuss about curriculum content. So these are the content of this presentation. The first is that the nature of content selection criteria, the overcrowded and finite curriculum, the architectonics of content, application of scope and sequence, and cognitive development. So we start with the nature of content. So actually for the novice teachers, they sometimes think that the first thing to think is that the materials to be taught for the students, but they should know that the first thing to think is that the objective of the learning process first. So after we get the objective of the learning process, it can be the result of need analysis or the situational analysis. Then after we get the set of this objective, we can design the content of the curriculum. So what is the nature of the content? The first is that there should be knowledge and then skills and values. The knowledge itself consists of facts, concept, and generalization. For example, when we are teaching the narrative text, we introduce the students about the concept first, about the generic structure, about the social function, about the linguistic features of the text, and then we teach them about the skills, can be reading and writing, and then the values, we teach them about the good and bad characteristic in the stories in the narrative text. And then go to the content selection. There are two approaches. The first is that knowledge-based approach, which highlight the knowledge, and then the second one is the process approach, where the skills are highly valued. And there are some of the content selection criteria. There are 6 of them. I will explain it one by one. So we start with the criterions of significance. So a content material is judged in terms of how essential it is. So it should also have the appropriate balance between the concept, ideas, and also facts. The criterion may be applied to any body of the contents. However, there is a problem with these criterions. For example, the question, is it significant for whom? Because everybody who are involved in the curriculum development has actually a idea or perspective about the curriculum itself. And then the second criterion is that validity. The content is called as valid when it is authentic, true, and accurate. The validity of content may also be measured in the relationship between the objective of the learning process and also the content material. So there is a concordance between the content and the objective. So there is also a problem with this kind of criterions, is that the obsolescence of content, or means that this kind of content sometimes have a constant flux. And then social relevance. These criterions of contents for inclusion in curriculum should be selected within the context of a community-oriented perspective. For example, what I'm doing now, that I want to search what is actually the needs of the industries about the English curriculum for my students from the mechanical engineering. And this criterion is concerned with the content related to the moral values, ideas, social problems, and etc. And that would assist students to become more effective members of the society because they are fulfilling the needs of the society. However, there is a problem with that the content should have the consistency with the national goals, because sometimes there is a gap between what the needs from the society and the national curriculum. The next one is the utility criterion. So this criterion is to prepare the students for adult life, and the desired outcome of this criterion is on behalf of the learners. And this is individually oriented so that it can increase the motivation of the students because it is related to the needs of the learners. And it is also a functional curriculum because it is related to the real world relevance. The weakness of this criterion is that it is practically appropriate only for non-tertiary bound students because it depends on the student's utility, individual utility. So it can be suitable for the vocational schools but not for the tertiary bound students. And the next one is that about the learnability, that it is to meet the needs of large number of the students with the diverse background and wide range of abilities. And because of this is required by all of the students, so the content material should be easy enough so that it might be made to level of the lowest common denominator. So sometimes this kind of curriculum or content curriculum, it would create pointless curriculum. So what is the solution? The solution is that by adding more advanced content for abler students. The next one is interest. This criterion ascertain a greater understanding of students' interest and perceived needs. So it will depend on the students' interest. And it can increase the students' motivation because they're really interested in the subject materials. However, it has a weakness because student interest might be unlimited. A single student will have different interests with the other students. And also, it can be transitory in nature. So we also discuss about the overcrowded and finite curriculum. So there is an important question: what content is most worth? For example, what content to include, what content to exclude. However, there are also curriculum demands. There are demands from the society, like I have said before, there is the demands from the group organization, for example, peace group, and then parliaments, and then for the departments. For example, more than one of department came to my university asked to include the material of the department to be included in the English material. So this is called as a curriculum demands. And the solution for this is that removing or replacing the existing contents. Or we can have a longer school day, for example, from Monday until Saturday, or 6 days per week, or 45 weeks per year. So it depends which one the solution that we want to take. We go to the architectonics of content. So we are asking about what happens to content once it is selected. Where is it placed in the overall curriculum? Why is it placed there? So the problem is that there are various criteria to assist them in arranging the content. So the solution is that try to analyze the architectonics of the content, or the principles for ordering and arranging content into systematic categories. So I already give you the example here, that this is the curriculum response to content pressure. For example, the content area is that text education. The pressure is of course from the Department of text department, and in the content form we can include that information of text into some of essays, for example descriptive essays, for example. And then the curriculum impact is that the students already understand about the some of information about text, and they can apply it in their real life. And then there are two most important principle of the architectonics of the content. The first is that the scope of curriculum content, how the content is arranged at a specific point in time and the degree of depth. Specific point in time, 1 semester or 1 year. And there are 5. The first is that time, and then the second is the core content. This is the content that the students should master, and it's about more than 50% of the total content curriculum. The third one is the special needs. Sometimes the students have special needs. For example, they are interested in music, for example. And the integration of content. So sometimes we should integrate some of content, for example, reading and writing to be integrated. So it become integrated reading and writing. And the final point is that the point where we decide which one the content curriculum that we can include in our content curriculum. And then the second one is the sequence of curriculum content, the order in which content is presented over time. It means the whole curriculum. We are having question what criteria should determine the order of content, when should learners acquire certain content, and there are 6 principles for sequencing contents. The first is that from simple to complex, from easy to difficult. And then there is also prerequisite learning. The students should master first certain content before they learn another content. And then the third one is the chronology. The students should understand an event before they are learning another event. And then spiral sequencing. It means the students more and more learning about basic things until they can master it. And then increasing abstraction. We give the content which give them a direct experience with the real life. Whole to part learning means that when the students understand about the whole understanding, we are expected them to have ability to learn about the part of learning. So this is the application of scope sequence. So when there are a lot of demands from organization, from others, from the curriculum itself, so we are facing actually the jigsaw type problem. Which one should be included in our content curriculum? So the solution is that the diagrammatic representation, we make this. I already give you the example. This is the example of school years 1 until 10. For example, A is mathematics that should be exist from the first year until the year of 10. And then H, for example, this is computer science. From the first until 5th grade, they are only introduced by introduction of computer science, and then grade 8 until 10, they have more exposure on it. So this is the last one about the cognitive development. John Piaget in 1963 implies 4 stages of cognitive development that can be an insight for us to make the content curriculum. The first is that sensory motor stage. It means from 0 until 2 years old. Their actions are actually the first random and reflex. And then the second stage is that 2 until 7. At the first, children center their attention only one aspect of an object of situation, and then later they can perceive relationship among parts. And then stage of concrete operation. This is for 7 to 12. The child is concerned with actual, characteristically solved problem in terms of direct experience. So we can include more and more direct experiences in our content curriculum. And then the stage of formal operation, this is for 12 to 16. They are able to integrate their new intellectual capacities for explanatory purpose. So I believe this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.